Grand Rising family, good morning. So I have a couple messages that God gave to me. I'm literally teary-eyed right now because the way God works, he works in mysterious ways. And I'm like, God, why you always doing this to me? And so I want to tell you about God. God works on faith and God works in mysterious ways. And he literally just told me to give y'all an example this morning. So all God needs you to do is believe and have faith that everything will work out in your favor. Everything will work out in God's timing. Everything will work out when God wanted to. And I'm teary-eyed because, for example, this morning God told me that I would get my daughter to school on time. Because of traffic, it was so bad, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're not gonna get there on time. I'm gonna have to write her in a couple minutes late. And lately it's like the enemy's been attacking that. It's like the times that I gotta get her there, it's always something, whether it's an accident or us maybe waking up a little later, or one time I was really getting spiritually attacked and woke up a little late, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I feel so bad because people don't know what you go through having these gifts. They don't know what you got going on or what you're going through. And this morning I'm like, oh, God, we're not gonna get there on time. I'm like, and as I'm like riding, he's like, be patient, you gonna get there on time. And I was like looking at the GPS and I'm like, no, we're not. Look at this traffic. I can't even get through. Now this light is turning. When I tell you how God works, in the last minute, he will bless you. You just got to have faith in God. And so as I'm riding through the lights, like another one stops and then traffic is just backed up. I'm like, see, I just keep talking to him. He's like, my child, be patient, just wait, you about to see. And I'm like, okay. So I'll be quiet for a couple minutes. And then something else happened. I'm like, yeah, it's over. Then I'm talking to God, like, God, why you tell me to be patient? Why you tell me to be quiet if it wasn't gonna work out? And as it's the time now where my daughter has to go into school, and usually the bell rings. I pulls up to the school and she walks in the exact moment that the bell's supposed to ring, and they let her go in, and the bell has not rung. After she walked through those doors, 1 minute later that bell rung. And I'm trying not to cry because I'm in traffic and I don't like crying in public. But God was like, that's how my blessings work. That's how your promise works. A lot of times you give up on what it is that God has for you, or you question him a whole lot, and you start thinking that was a lie. You start thinking that God forgot about you. You like, God, why would you tell me this and this didn't happen? Why would you let me go through this and I didn't go here? You may not understand what it is that God is doing in your life, but you got to have faith and trust, and you have to believe. And it's crazy because God has been building my faith, because the things that I have been going through in life made my faith go down. We all go through that point where we're questioning God, where we don't understand and know we're not supposed to, but we all go through that point. And God's been building my faith, and he's just been showing and proving me in my face. And not only did this message for me, but this message is for someone else. And God said a lot of times the reason your prayers are not being answered, the reason you're not getting where you want or getting the things you want out of life, or whatever it is that he promised you, is because you don't believe. It's because you don't have enough faith that God's going to bring you through that moment, that God's going to bring you through that storm, that God's going to bless you in the mix of your storm. It's because you have to believe what it is that God has for you. If God told you he's taking you to this promised land, believe him. If God told you he's about to renew your health, believe him. If he told you he's about to give you a new job, believe him. And that's the reason why we feel short sometimes, because all we got to do is have faith. You hear me? Faith is small as a mustard seed, and God's going to see you through. God's going to come through and show out in your life. And God said, I just wanted to show you, because you thought that you wasn't going to get her on time. You thought that just because it was a timing of man's timing that you wasn't going to make it. You thought that I couldn't turn this around and do it. You hear me? God was like, what makes you think every time that you put your faith in man, you get let down? But you put your faith in me, I promise you, I would never let you down. I would never leave you nor forsake you. And I was just talking to God, and I'm like, wow. It was literally like God just working this moment, because I prayed on it. I'm like, God, help us to get the traffic. I'm not seeing it through, and I just don't know. And he was like, I want you to walk by faith and not by sight. I want you to see that everything I'm doing is working out for your good. Even though you might can't see the end, and you might can't see where God is taking you. You may not understand. You may be crying through your storm, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to think about it, like wondering what's going on. But God don't want you to worry. He don't. He don't want you. He really don't want you to do too much, because everything is already worked out. Everything is already planned. And you see my little bit of faith I had right there, and God just showed me right in my face. What you got to say now? What you got to say? I worked it out. See, the bell usually rings at a certain time, but God made that bell ring 1 minute late. She walked through those doors, and a minute later, I heard that bell go off. And that's the way God works. That's how he works. God is about to give you your promise. He's about to give you things, but you just got to have faith. You got to believe. And last night, God got me to watch this movie. It's this channel called Pure Flix. I downloaded it, and it has a lot of like movies based on God. And one of the movies was, this car just tried to come to my lane. The devil is alive. But I'm paying attention, so don't worry. But one of the movies is called The Girl Who Believed in Miracles. And it's really crazy because God directed me right to this movie. And I've been wanting to watch it a minute ago, but I just now watch it. And I don't want to ruin the movie because I want y'all to go in there and watch it. But basically, the girl had so much faith, and she believed so much that God will always turn it around and work it out. And I'm going to give you a scene of the movie. There was a dog that got hit by a car in the movie, and they was crying, and they kept telling her, like, it's gone, come on, you gotta just come on, just forget about it, there's nothing we can do. And she was like, no. She was like, no, God can bring him back. God can help him. And they're like telling her no. And so she started praying for the dog. And even though the dog was cold, the dog head was dead, she prayed for that dog, and she asked God. She did the Lord's Prayer, and then she prayed for that dog, asked God that to bring him back, that he was a good dog, and that his will be done. And in that moment, that dog got up and started walking. He wasn't limping. He wasn't bleeding anymore. He was walking. And everybody just looked over, and they turned, and they couldn't believe. When I tell you, even the non-believers started believing. And that's how God works. And at the middle of the movie, they talked about, they was like, she was telling the doctor and stuff, because she had got sick. And she was telling the doctors, yes, God told me, now what did they say? They was like, what happened I'm trying to not tell the movie, but tell y'all a part to get the point. But it was like, what happened? And she was like, God, it wasn't me that performed the miracle. It was God. And God told me that I could do that. God told me that the dog would be okay. And she just kept telling people about what God was doing and what God can do. And all you had to do was have faith and believe in these people, even the non-believers, because this man had lost his kid, and he didn't believe in God anymore, because he felt like if there was a God, why would he take me through there? If it was a God, why would I lose my child? You know, that he didn't believe this. And as God was revealing himself in this movie and showing in the end, they all seen that God was real, that God can come through even in the smallest moment. Even the non-believer said, I know there is God, and I feel my child around me. I know that God took my child, but it's okay, because God's got some things to do with my child in heaven. God got some places to take us. And the non-believer even believed, and the non-believer started crying and knew that God was real. And that's how God works. All God wants you to do is have a little faith. The reason why your prayers might not be getting answered like you want to, or the reason why you're going through certain things, because you didn't have enough faith. You didn't believe that God could come through and show out and show you what he's about to do in your life. And God's saying, all I want you to do is have faith. And God's been building my faith too. And when I seen that movie last night, y'all, I stayed up watching this movie. I was just bawling, crying, because it's some things that I prayed on too. It's some things that I've been going through. And I know that you've been going through. And I know this storm seems heavy. I know it seems like it may not ever be over. But God said, at the end of this storm, the rain, it's going to be a rainbow. It's going to be a promise. It's going to be everything that God told you he's about to give you. But all you got to do is have faith. Trust me. But y'all got to watch that movie. And you got to know that God works in mysterious ways. But I love y'all. Stay positive. Stay blessed.